What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com, and I am back with another review show, this time looking back at PFL 7 2024, which went down on August 2nd over in Nashville in the United States. And this was like the card on paper that I think there was some good fights in it, but I think it'd be fair to say some of the other cards scheduled are probably a little bit better in terms of the overall quality and things like that. But I'd say it's fair to say this card delivered. Now, actually, before I even start, I consumed this card a little bit differently to how I normally consume it. You might you might be able to hear it in my voice. I was at a wedding over the weekend. People on the show know, friend of the show, Ian O'Neill, who's been on the show many times. Congrats to Ian for getting married over the weekend. But so I was away for that, and I came back and I watched obviously the replay of the show, and it was very interesting to watch it in that way, because I think it might maybe the second time, but I think one of the first times ever I've actually watched PFL on a replay. And I'm always staying up obviously for the UFCs and all of those different organizations. As you know, here in Ireland, it's it's not that easy, but we get it done anyway. But I think the one thing about the PFL, obviously we know there's kind of a big lead in at the start with a half an hour, 45-minute type of kind of pre-show. And I suppose to be able to kind of go through that and go straight to the fights is really, really good. And also the DAZN, so it's DAZN here in Ireland and the UK, I believe in Canada as well, and probably some other places as well. But I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the DAZN app, and it's not just a PFL thing. They have other sports as well. I just think it's a bit slow, and it's very hard to find things and all. But I must say, and including old cards as well. I think I was looking for one of the fights this year doing research. I was looking for maybe a PFL, in 2019 or whenever it was, fight, and it was or even it might even closer than that. It's we don't go back further than a year or something. I'm like, oh really? Where? And I think it was on YouTube and stuff anyways, but it was fine. But yeah, so DAZN not amazing for that. But I must say, when I came to look at this, and the fight night was obviously on Saturday here, Friday morning, and I was watching it Monday, all the main card fights were all up individually. The whole card itself was up to watch the prelims and all of that, cut really well, and it was great. So it's and I know a lot of people, I'm preaching to converted here, a lot of people maybe don't, especially if you're on my side of the world, maybe don't stay up to watch cards, watch them the next day. But for me, it's a different way to consume them now. Look, I suppose it's part of the job to be up and to be reacting to cards like this, so it's not something I'm going to do all the time. Although maybe staying up late isn't the best way to do it. But I think it's an interesting way to look at it. You can get a 6-hour card into an hour and a half or 2 hours maybe, and it's a very, very time smart, I suppose. But I must say as well, I do like the way, and I think the UFC are doing it better as well, cutting up fights and putting up the individual fights as well. Although the UFC's new app, that's maybe another podcast for another day, but they've updated the Android TV app, and it's just it's I would call it a disaster, but maybe I'm going a bit overboard there, but it's very hard to find things. But anyway, let's get into this card. And as I said, a very fun card, watching it back, some really good fights and some lovely finishes in there as well. And let's start with the main event, and we'll go through the main card fights first, and then obviously they're the main fights because they're the ones that matter and have connotations going forward in terms of the $1 million, as we're only one fight away from it. And so let's start with that, and let's talk about the main event: Denis Goltsov versus Tim Johnson. Goltsov won in the first round with it's down here in Sherdog as a TKO punches, but it's a bit of a heel hook situation, verbal tap sort of thing. So maybe that was clarified. As I said, I wasn't watching it live, so maybe that was clarified afterwards. But it was an interesting one because Tim Johnson probably fighted the way you would need to fight. I know myself and Mike were talking about it on the preview show, and it's actually something that's come up a few times recently, that there are certain fighters out there, and maybe this is, I was going to say this is not a knock on them, but maybe it is a knock on them. They refuse to fight in a agricultural way, if you want to put it that way. They think they're as good as their opponent, right? And sometimes you have to realize I'm not as good as this person. I have to drag them into deep waters. I have to do, something that I normally wouldn't like to do. I have to, adjust my game to fight them in a certain way to beat them, because I know they are very, very good and probably better than me. And, I don't think you could ever say that about Tim Johnson in his career, but that's what he tried to do here. And you have to hand it to him, because, as I said, not all fighters will do that. In fact, a lot of them won't do it and refuse to do it. But he did. He came out here and immediately going forward, both throwing bombs. And I think the first shots that were thrown were very interesting, because, it's very... And I was going to say it's very difficult at heavyweights. The only time we see it really in the heavyweight division, and what I mean by see it, counter shots to someone coming forward throwing big shots, is with lads that have a massive athletic disparity, and are on the good side of that. And look, maybe that's what we had here with Goltsov against Johnson. It probably is. The standout one recently is obviously Aspinall. his last two fights, he got hit with bombs in both of them because he was faster and more powerful and he could counter better. He won both of those fights. They ended very, very quickly. And that's kind of what happened here early, I thought. But Johnson was smart. So when he was going forward, throwing those big shots, I think for someone like Goltsov, right, who's been in this position before and, a step further even, and it hasn't always worked out for him, as we know, and it's never worked out for him yet, as we know. To play your game and to actually let your hands go in a dangerous position like that, that's it's a very good thing to say about a fighter, that they're willing to still do that, because a lot of people you couldn't blame him for holding back a little bit, but he absolutely didn't. But that quickly kind of got the fight into the clinch, because once Goltsov started kind of landing on him, Johnson realized that I can't just continue to do this in this fashion. I'm going to have to make it a little bit dirty, and he very much tried to, but Dennis broke out, and then he started landing some jabs, and it stopped Tim Johnson going forward. Not totally, but it stopped the Dan Hardy used the word, I love using the word as well, cadence. It stopped the quick forward motion cadence, in totality, right? No, it stopped him going forward. It stopped the forward totality. It didn't stop it in totality, if you get me. For the first 2 minutes, it was, or minute, or maybe a little bit less, it was forward, and then it was forward, back, if you get me. So, that's really where the fight kind of changed somewhat. I also at the start I just realized I said it was a heel hook. It was the other heavyweight fight that was a heel hook. Never mind. Cut that out. Edit that bit out. No, it was the other fight that was a heel hook. I'm gone mad. It's because I watched them in reverse order. I actually watched the other heavyweight fight last. So yeah, there we go. But anyway, to go back to this fight, Johnson was struggling, I think, when Goltsov was throwing these shots. And that allowed Goltsov to kind of get inside a little bit, because I think Tim Johnson realized that I'm going to have to do two things here. I'm going to have to land a big shot and knock him out, or I'm going to have to get inside and try to take him down. And when he kind of realized he couldn't do either of those two things, it was very, very tough for him. Dennis, as I said, Dennis did get inside because of that, and he knew he could get inside, and he took him down with a big body lock takedown, got into the half guard. Tim Johnson nearly powered out. He did a great job of nearly powering out, but Dennis stayed on top, landed a massive right hand, got into full mount. There was loads of ground and pound there. He was covering up, and he kind of flows out then and got to the back. But again, Tim Johnson was turtling up, and it was weird because he didn't get to the back. He got on the back. Sorry, he got to his back. Tim Johnson did, but he was kind of turtling up at the start. And I thought the fight was going to be finished, to be honest. And then he got to the back, and I was like, okay, he's going to survive. But then he kind of got to his side again, where Goltsov was on top, landing around the pound, and he turtled up very quickly. You couldn't really see it, because it was against the cage and against kind of the pillar. But I just wonder if there was something big landed there, because Tim Johnson, he's not, and I'm not saying he did, but he's not the quitting type. He's the type of lad that'll take a lot of big shots, and this looked it looked very odd from where he was in trouble, and he was like, oh, he's after surviving to getting in trouble very quickly again. I just wonder something really big hit him there, and you know what, I think it probably might have one of those ground and pound shots. You know, hitting the head off the canvas is not, you know, is not easy, and I'm one of them goes badly. It's night, you know, and it wasn't quite night here, but the referee stepped in and stopped the fight. A very good win, a very good performance from Denis Goltsov. He looked, you know, as good as you can, you know, landed his shots on the feet, won the fight on the ground, and got the finish. So, congrats to Denis Goltsov. Not a heel look, which we'll get to later on. We'll go fight by fight here because we'll we'll go the way it went, and let's talk about Dakota Ditcheva next, who finished Jena Bishop via TKO at 3:51 of round 1. And I'll be honest, so as I said, I was away this weekend, and I looked at my phone and I just saw like a tweet. It's like a destructive win for Dakota Ditcheva, and it showed like the last, 25 seconds of the fight or whatever. And I was like, oh, right. Jesus, like I predicted Bishop coming in. I was like, Jesus, Bishop, got destroyed. Ditcheva just went out and kind of ran through her. That wasn't the case though, going back watching the fight, and far from it indeed. I thought Bishop put up a great fight and was, could you say, dominating the fight until the last 20 seconds? I think you probably could. It was a very good display and a very interesting for both of them. Bishop showed that she can do this to a world-class fighter, and Ditcheva showed that she is a world-class fighter and she can come through things like this. But I think for future, for both of them, there's a lot of, not necessarily changes that need to be made, but they have a lot, because, look, they're both very young, of course, but there's a lot of improvements to come. I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't the last time these two competitors compete. I wouldn't at all be surprised. And I hope a loss like this for Jena Bishop isn't something that kind of puts her back. And I know it's put her back this year, but as an athlete, as a fighter, I hope she, I hope she makes a full comeback and all that. And I'm sure she will. But a very interesting fight. Let's get to it. So it started off, and the most noticeable thing from the very, very beginning was the feints from Dakota Ditcheva, I thought. She had Bishop kind of moving all around the place, and I thought, she was kind of snake charming her a little bit. And I was like, because I obviously saw the last few seconds and I'd heard the results. I was like, okay, this is going to be, this is going to be a destruction here. And she was controlling the center. Bishop was fighting obviously out of the southpaw and showing her jab and all. I'm thinking, okay, here, this is a bit dangerous. Are you actually going to strike with Dakota Ditcheva? I'm like, that's not the best thing. And then Ditcheva threw her right hand, and it didn't land, right? But you could say that she was able to reach her. It just missed her. And I'm like, oh, God, this is going to be, this is going to be tough here for Bishop, because, she, as I said, she found the range, just kind of didn't find the accuracy. And I'm like, if she finds the range with the next one, this could be big problems. But she landed a lovely leg kicked in as well. I suppose that was the biggest shot of the opening. And I just wrote in my notes, like, Bishop was happy to throw hands. And she actually caught Ditcheva a few times, and I was impressed by how quick she was on the inside. Ditcheva, if anyone has watched her old fights, look, she's big and tall and rangy and very technical, but the speed, I think, is something, I've seen her fight live, and it's maybe one of those things, it's harder to see on TV than it is maybe live. She's so fast, really fast. But she threw a nice knee, but it got her taken down. And with a big slam, you're thinking here, oh, this is trouble. And into the full guard and into the half guard with Bishop on top. Ditcheva went for a triangle, and it allows her to get against the cage, which was, I suppose, the best part of it. Because if you're taken down and you're, you're in the center or whatever, it's going to be tougher to get up. But as I said, it got her to the cage, and she was able to get standing, threw some knees in the clinch. Bishop had the over-under against the cage, which helped her to kind of dominate that position as well. She nearly tripped Ditcheva. So at this stage of the fight, okay, Ditcheva's landed a leg kick and she's landed a couple of knees in the clinch, but she's been taken down, she's been slammed. There are a few shots landed there, and you're thinking, okay, the fight gets back to the feed. Maybe she can take her down again. And she nearly did. She nearly got a trip with Ditcheva. There was a lovely shot in the clinch from Jena Bishop there. And, at this stage again, you're thinking, oh, if I didn't know the result, I'd be thinking, oh, here we go. I give her as one of my fires for last week. Like, this is on. But got back out into the open. And that was that basically. Ditcheva landed a huge knee. And the fight was over. I watched it back. So I'll go from there, right? So she landed a huge knee, knocked her down. When she got back up, she landed a front kick to the body and then a right hand. And I was kind of thinking to myself at that stage, like, Jesus, she kind of went down very, very easy to that right hand in the end. I'm like, what happened? Like, she must have been badly hurt. And I went back and I watched the knee again, and like, I knew it badly hurt her, but it's weird because she got back up kind of so quickly. And I'm like, okay, this fight might be going on for another while. But she was done from that knee. Like, if you go back and watch it, when she's on the ground, I don't think she wants to kind of get back up. And not that she wants to get back up, but I think she's so badly hurt. If the referee had stopped it there, I don't think she would have been complaining too much. Now, could the referee have stopped it there? I think if he had stopped it there, probably people would have been worrying about an early stoppage. She didn't take too much damage after it. But, like, I know some people might look at this and see the last few seconds and go, oh, God, bad stoppage, or she went down a bit easy or whatever. But no, what came before it was enough. And I've spoken to referees about that before, and they always tell me that, like, don't look at the last 5 seconds for stoppages like that. Look at the last 15 seconds, look at the last 20 seconds, see what came before it, see how badly she was hurt, and see if she did enough to show you that she had either recovered or was, intelligently defending herself and surviving. And she didn't. When she took that right hand that didn't really land, that kind of landed on the top for her, probably hurt Ditcheva's hand more than hurt her, and she went down. You knew the fight was done then. But great comeback. Not that it was a massive comeback or anything, but when you get taken down like that, you're in the biggest fight of your life, and you come back and you get the finish. All credit must go to Dakota Ditcheva. So congratulations, her great win. And my God, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you this, and maybe this is a conversation for the next podcast, but if they can get Dakota Ditcheva to win the finale, she could be a massive star. The PFL, they need to start preparing. They need to start preparing for, like, what are we going to do? Which TV shows can we get her on? How are we going to, they need to get her everywhere. They need to, this is your star. And especially, we'll talk about the other semi-final in a second, but if she wins that, it could be a real star-making performance. So, massive stuff for Dakota Ditcheva then. Right, the other semi-final of the men's heavyweights, we had Oleg Popov defeats Linton Vassell by unanimous decision, 30-27 all around. We'll just run through this fight quickly because it wasn't a classic, to put it that way. Started down round one, both were trying to lead. Popov landed a lovely left hook, and then Linton stopped the takedown. And he got the takedown on the second try, but a real sign of this whole fight was how well Vassell defended. Now, it's as we know, you don't get points for defending in MMA, but I suppose it started off, he used the guillotine to sweep, but he still landed on bottom. He's working for the underhooks. Fights really hard to escape, and eventually does, but then the clinch was won by Popov when they stood up. He judo threw him to the ground again. Vassell got up again. And I wrote in my notes here as well, like, it's not often that Linton Vassell isn't the strongest. I know he used to be a light heavyweight, but he's all, like, it feels like he's always the strongest heavyweight, but it wasn't the case here. Now, was he outmatched in that way? At times, but not the majority of it. Like, I think, and maybe he was actually, because he usually has a big deficit in strength, or a big, what's the opposite of deficit? Positive for on his side anyway in terms of strength. It was a technique that was winning for not winning it for him, but winning the defensive battle for him, if you want to put it that way. But again, there was a takedown against defense. Linton was going for an armbar triangle. He kind of popped out, did Popov, and then he was in the right position. But Linton fought up, takedown into the guillotine yet again, and then Linton landed some hammer fists from the single attempt, and Popov got the takedown late. So a lot of transitions, a lot of Popov on top. Didn't land a whole lot. Linton landed some hammer fists as well. It'd be very harsh if you didn't give Popov that round, though, I think. Round two, Popov landed a left hand and a right hand. Vassell, to me, looked very tired here. As I said, being forced to defend an awful lot. And Popov looked, more light-footed. And I think Dan Hardy said in the commentary that the cornerman told him to do that. He forced Vassell to attack a little bit because he was kind of waiting. And as he did, this was a setup, like a huge setup by Popov. When Vassell started to attack, he dipped straight down, double leg, took him down, baited him in. Again, though, Vassell defended well. Popov got to the right position, single leg got him down again. Vassell always pops back to the leg, and got to the feet eventually. And he landed a right hand in kind of on the break, and it was probably the best shot he landed in the whole fight. But Popov into the clinch, into the single. Vassell going again for the triangle, but it got Popov to the right position. And this was where Popov, I thought, landed his best shots on the ground of the fight. Way better than in the first, in the first round. And, both were kind of on their knees. Very odd position where they're both on their knees. And I think, look, we'll talk about it again in another fight, but when elbows don't exist in a position like this, it's very tough. I think the one thing that happened at the end of this round that summed up the whole fight is they were stuck in a clinch position, and Popov kneed Vassell in the back of the leg and put him down to one knee and kind of got a takedown after. I was like, yeah, that's the type of fight this is. But round 3, it was karate Popov. He came out in a karate stance, but then got their quick double leg into half guard. Linton got to his side and his right side, but Popov managed to hold him down. And it was this is the third round. This was the third round. Tiredness. Linton gets to a knee, but there was then a long clinch battle before another Popov takedown. Nice left hand punches from Popov. Just as I said, in this round, and especially after this part, he just held him down a lot easier. Linton did get to a knee while taking punches, and eventually, kind of got taken down late, but that was it. So the whole fight basically was Popov taking him down over and over and over, and won the unanimous decision in that one. A fight that was a lot closer was Taila Santos against Liz Carmouche, which went 29-28 to Santos by all 3 judges, which is good, consistent judging. And obviously, Liz Carmouche missed weight, so even if she'd won 29-28, it would have been a draw. I think she would have been out. Is that correct? I think so. I'm not sure. But anyway, that didn't come to pass. But I'll be honest, I haven't seen the cards yet or anything. I don't know who won which rounds here. It was, again, when you're watching the fight and you're taking notes or maybe analysing it, it's a little bit tougher. If I went back and watched it again from a judging perspective, maybe I'd give you a different answer. But just to go through what happened here, Liz Carmouche is going forward and Santos is countering to start it off. There was some low kicks from Liz, a hook kick as well from Liz, and both were throwing lots of kicks in the start of the first round. Liz landed a nice right hand, went for a takedown at him, but there was guillotine from Santos that stopped the takedown, similar to the last fight which we spoke about, and it got her to the cage. Then Liz showed her power. She was able to lift her up and take her down. But she kind of popped. She didn't fully take her down and kind of popped back up again. There was an outside single for Liz that was no good again, and then there was a long clinch. And here again was a point where no elbows really hurt. Like when there's too many long clinches in a lot of the PFL fights, they need to bring in elbows because it quickly changes those situations. Especially in the semifinals as well, when you're so far out from the finale, you might as well do it. Santos eventually reversed in that position. And took Liz down with a body lock takedown. Liz got some butterfly hooks, got the leg in between as well to get herself a little bit of space, but Santos did a great job of adjusting on top. Liz tried again, and Santos took her back, got the 2 hooks in. Liz managed to get one of the hooks out, and then there's a rear naked choke attempt, adjusts again, and then there was a neck crank, which I thought was very close towards the end of that. So, Liz was probably the better fighter for most of that round, but, you could argue either way with what Santos did towards the end. You'd have to favour some of those submission attempts late as well. The second round, Santos was jabbing a lot more. Liz was landing some leg kicks and they were answered. But again, the jabs, I have to reiterate the point, she landed some lovely shots. And I think in this round, she landed a few nice shots in the first, but I think in the second round, she realised she had a real power advantage over Carmouche. She landed a clubbing right hand, which forced Liz back momentarily. And then Santos was switching stances. Liz was landing when she threw, and she realised that she could land when she was through, which, if we're looking forward and we're looking for a Dakota Ditcheva fight, I think that'll be manna for heaven when she watches this fight back. But every time Liz threw, Santos fired back, and it just had way more firepower. way more firepower than her. It forced Liz into accepting a clinch, which she lost. But then Liz, got a takedown from a body lock, a trip. And then Liz got into side control for the last 40 seconds, a nice body puncher. So, again, a real sign of Liz Carmouche's career over the last 10 fights, maybe since she left the UFC. And her whole career, I suppose, but her ability to adjust mid-fight is very, very good. Very, very, very good there. And she did that multiple times here and made it a very close fight. But the third round, Liz immediately went across the cage and tried to double leg her. Liz got into the mount. Santos out and up to the clinch. But then Liz kind of won the clinch. But the Santos overhook here was massive. She stopped Liz from taking her down. And then, that went on for a good while. Liz eventually got back out, knowing that maybe she would have needed this round. She threw a few bombs. She was very aggressive, but just not landing, I didn't think. And then Santos landed a beautiful 1-2 right down the middle. It didn't quite, I don't know, maybe it did bloody the nose of Liz a little bit, but it reddened her face. And I'm like, Santos can throw shots that Liz just can't. And Liz barreled forward, forcing Santos into a sprawl. And then there was a long time in that sprawl position. I'm like, stand him up here, come on. But, Liz eventually lifts her and gets a late takedown, but it just wasn't enough in the end, and Santos won the unanimous decision. 29-28 on all 3 cards. So the 2 finales will be Taila Santos against Dakota Ditcheva and Oleg Popov against Denis Goltsov. So 2 interesting fights there, and we'll obviously talk more about them as they go. Right, let's just quickly run through the preliminary cards here. You'd have to say Sergey Bellasini, after his performance in the regular season and on Friday night, Saturday morning, will have to be the alternative. One of the lads pulls out or is injured or whatever it might be, you'll have to say he's next in. So this fight, hard leg kicks by each to start. Fortune got a quick takedown, which I was a little bit surprised by, to be honest. One butterfly hook for Sergio, and then he went for the heel hook very quickly. Fortune seemed kind of nonplussed when he was standing, but when he was tripped and went to the ground, it was an issue, and seemed to have no idea how to defend it. He's crying out in pain, and as he was doing that, I was like, "Oh, you can't roar and shout like that. That's a verbal lab. We've seen it before." But Jason, I think it was Jason Herzog, wasn't it? He gave him a bit of time, which I actually liked. And when he kept kind of crying out in pain, he stopped it. So it was an interesting stoppage, I suppose, a debatable one. But I'd nearly debate you should have stopped it earlier. But I think, give him a chance. He kept doing it. You have to stop the fight. But good stuff from Sergey Bellasini. A bit of an odd fight, but good stuff from him. Then we had a 30-27 win for Alexei Porgande against Daniel Boyle. This was a very fun first round. A big switch knee for Alexei forced Boyle to pull guard. And I thought Alexei was just a better fighter. Dan was trying his best, but just a little bit off everywhere. Very exciting round though. The second round, not as exciting. Alexei on top for almost all of it. Nothing exciting apart from a late armbar trying in the third round. Bit of striking for the first half of it. Good counters from Alexei, but he got it to the ground. The ref stood him up, and then I thought, Daniel went for a takedown, which I'm thinking right, okay, you're getting outstruck here and beaten on the ground, fair enough, but the only way you're winning this fight is if you knock him out. And I know he went for subs and stuff, but it's just not happening. It's just not happening. Alexei takes it back, lands a load of punches late, and wins the unanimous decision. Then we Cody Law against Zachary Hicks, and I thought Cody Law looked phenomenal here. Now look, Zachary Hicks, not exactly, not even got in there against Islam Makhachev or anything, but Law looked probably the best he's ever looked. I think lovely leg kicks. Hicks answers back but gets hit hard, and I thought from then on Hicks is panicked, and panic was a real word I would use for him. And I don't like saying that about fighters, but he did. He looked panicked. Law just picking him off, going forward and countering, and that's a bad sign. Usually you can beat a lad going forward, or you can beat him going back. But when you're beating him going forward and going back, no bueno there at that stage. Law leg kick into the uppercut. It was a beautiful combination. Lovely jabs. I don't know, I didn't see the replay, but it seemed to hurt him to the body, I think. And then the left hook by Law was lovely. Hicks goes for a panic takedown then, which was a bad idea. Law transition to the back, and rear naked choke at 3:15 round one. Brilliant performance from Cody Law there. Then we had Derek Sanders, who beat Sergio Cosio. I've seen Cosio before. He's a tough guy, a good fighter, but geez, he got got the head bed off him here, as we'd say in Ireland. You know, Sanders was fencing, as Dan Hardy said, tad off with the punches early. I thought Cosio was doing okay. You know, I saw in the stats, they said he only landed one shot. I thought he landed a couple more than that. But, you know, Sanders quickly found his range. He hurt him with a left hand. And he kind of, you know, he knew it. If you get me, he knew where I was going from there. He was backing up, you know, lands a knee. And then there was 5 or 6 unanswered shots. And I'm kind of thinking here, is the ref going to stop it standing? But he didn't need to, because Cosio fell and went down. I went to watch the replay. I'm like, which shots should I pick out here? And, you know, and I think that'd be wrong to do. I think it was the speed. The speed of Sanders. The shot placements were all very good. But the standout thing to me was the speed. And that was absolutely fantastic. The fight me and Mike talked about coming into it was Anthony Ivy versus Julian Willis. And I think, look, Ivy winning obviously in the first round, and relatively even fight, but in the second round is where it really came into it. Willis dropped him with a big shot at the start of the second, and I'm thinking, oh, this could be over. Got him in an arm triangle, and that arm triangle was deep. This is not Joe Rogan deep. This was deep. And he got out, as Dan Hardy was talking about in the commentary, and Randy Couture, he was defending by pushing his leg against the post of the cage, and he got out, did a great job. Willis got into ride, but Ivy takes control on the ground, lands some big shots, takes the back rear naked choke. And do you know what? I'd put this in there for a comeback of the year. I know he was winning most of the fight, you could argue, but after getting dropped badly like that, being deep in an arm triangle, you know, great comeback and a great win there for Anthony Ivy. Maybe the closest fight of the night was between Kevin Peace and Nick Meck, although the Carmouche fight was pretty close as well. Both southpaws. Meck kind of felled him early and gets on top, takes the back, long clinch, lands some good shots and gets him down again. Lots of transitions in that first round. The second round, Peace stays away better, I thought. Lands some nice strikes, but takes a couple too. Meck looks tired and Peace is winning the transitions now in that round. Both land at the same time, kind of multiplying. It's very even, very good matchmaking, I would say. Peace eventually gets under and gets a takedown. The vice is going now, but we're nearly finished. The Meck clinch and Matt returns in the third round. Peace not in much trouble, just kind of tiring. Some great transitions, but not loads of scoring. Peace his own bits and pieces too, pardon the pun, and landed a couple of nice shots, and maybe that's what took it. Again, a very close fight, not a whole lot of scoring in large parts of the second and in the third, but in the end, Kevin Peace got the win there and goes forward. So there you go. That is my review of the card. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.